kitchen. Now, a few months ago, I created a video tutorial where I showed you different techniques that you could use to add some ruffles onto the side of your cakes. Now, so many of you asked for some more videos like this, so I thought for this week's video tutorial, I would show you how to add these really pretty ruffle rosettes. Now, if you want to see more videos like this, then make sure you subscribe to the Cake Spanners YouTube channel if you haven't already. You can also hit the notification bell next to the subscribe button, and this will just alert you every time I upload a new video. Okay, let's get started. First of all, I've got my 6-inch sponge cake. Now, this is just a 6-inch cake that measures 5 inches in height. I do have a full video tutorial, which I will put a link in the description below to show you how I cover my cakes. I've then got my modelling paste. Now, for the modelling paste, I've got a large ball of fondant, and I've also got a ball which is around half the size, and this is just some gum paste or some Squire's floral paste. Now, by combining these two together, it will mean that the ruffles are going to keep their shape a lot more than if we were just using fondant on its own, because we are adding them to the side of the cake, so we don't want them to droop down and fall off. So I'm mixing the two of those together. Now, if you don't have any gum paste, you could add some Tylose powder to your fondant, and this will help do exactly the same by firming the fondant up slightly and allowing it to dry a little bit harder. I've got my foam mat and just a pizza cutter or a knife. For my modelling tools, I've got a ball tool and my Dresden tool. I've got some edible glue and just a paintbrush to apply that. Now, you might find when you're adding your rosettes onto the side of your cake, you might want to use some cocktail sticks. And lastly, I've got a piece of card. Now, I've just cut out a strip of card that measures 1.5 centimeters in diameter, and I'm going to use this as a guide so that all the ruffled pieces that I apply to the cake are the same width. Okay, so taking a small ball of my fondant and gum paste mix, I'm going to roll this out into a long thin strip which is around 1 millimeter in thickness, and I'm going to use a template to cut out some strips. Now, you don't have to make these a certain length because I will just be joining them up to create the size of the rosette that I want. Now, I'm using a small ball at a time and just rolling out a few lengths so that it doesn't dry out whilst I'm working on my cake. And just using my pizza cutter. So first of all, trimming down one side so that we get a straight edge. Once my strips are cut, I'm going to make sure that they've got straight edges on both ends. You then want to work with one at a time. So with the rest, I'm going to pop these in an airtight container so that they don't dry out. Now, to give these more of a ruffled appearance, I'm going to use my foam mat and my ball tool. Now, taking my strip, I'm going to slightly bend that round, and on the outside edge, run my ball tool along, thinning out that edge. Now, I'm just doing this on one side as I want to keep the thickness on the opposite side, as this is what we're going to glue against the cake. Once you've run all the way around, when you open that out, you start to get this ruffle effect. So I'm going to start my rosette on my surface with the ruffles pointing outwards. Start to wind that around to create the center of my rose. Now, I like to leave a small gap between mine, so around 0.5 centimeter. They can be as tight or as loose as you like. And once it's around 1 inch in diameter, I'm going to bring back in my cake. Now, to start with, on the front of my cake, I'm going to take some edible glue, paste this on. Now, I'm doing a circle which is around 3 inches in diameter. This is how big I want my first rosette to be. Now, I'm going to leave that for around 30 seconds just so that it becomes really tacky. To attach the ruffles onto the side of your cake, you can use a variety of different modelling tools. You can either use the side of your Dresden tool, the other end that just has this slight curve, or even a small ball tool. Now, I'm going to take the rosette that we created on our mat, pushing lightly on the side, just holding that in place. Now, I'm going to use my Dresden tool, and we're just using the side of it, and where we've got that thicker edge, push the edge of my tool against the side to push that fondant onto the cake. Now I'm going to do the outside and then go on the inside. This just really helps to get your fondant ruffle at a 90-degree angle against the cake. Once the middle is attached, I can then start to work my way around. So push that fondant onto the cake, just in areas that are not sticking onto that edible glue, and also in intervals of around an inch, just so I know it's nice and secure. Now I like doing this in slightly smaller strips, just because it's a lot easier to work with. You're not trying to handle a lot of that fondant, pulling it round. Once you've used a whole piece, I'm going to do exactly the same, so just thin out the edges on another piece of my fondant and gum paste mix. Again, just making sure that I'm using it with the ruffles pointing outwards, and just slightly tuck that where the last piece ended. Again, just pushing that fondant into place on the outside edge and on the inside edge, following that shape around. Now you can keep them perfectly circular, or you can add some ruffles in there as you go. Pushing down on the outside and then bringing my tool again on the inside, just to hold that fondant in place. Now if you are finding that your fondant is slightly soft and isn't holding its shape, you can just take a cocktail stick and push that into your cake just to hold up some of that fondant. Now, whilst you're working, if you're finding that it's becoming less tacky, just want to add a small amount more of that edible glue, slightly pinching that fondant into place in areas as you work round until you're happy with how it's looking. So there we have our first rosette. So I want to add some more rosettes and go all the way around the cake. Now you might want it to have more of a repeated pattern, or you might just want them different sizes all over the cake. So I'm just going to turn that round and I'm going to pop on another rosette and paint on a rough circle with my edible glue. Now again, just using my work surface to do the first few rotations, I'm going to bring that in and work out where the center is going to be. As before, I can then start to wind this round. I'm just using my dressing tool on the inside and on the outside. Now once I reach the bottom, I'm just going to trim that off and just slot that against the edge. So I'm going to work my way around the cake, filling all the large spaces with the rosettes. Now don't worry too much at the moment with the smaller gaps, because we will fill those at the end with some other ruffles. Now when applying these strips onto the side of your cake, I have found that using a edible glue or a piping gel works a lot better than if you were using water, for instance. And the reason for this is because it goes very tacky. Now I find leaving my edible glue for around 30 seconds to a minute before I attach the strips really allows them to stick and cling onto the side of that cake, making it a lot easier to stick the fondant on and pull that fondant round, making your rosettes. Okay, so now all of the bigger spaces have been filled and we're left with these small little gaps in between the different rosettes. I'm going to start to fill those to really fill up the cake. Just to add in start of a ruffle. I'm then going to use the end strip that I've got and just wind that around the gap. I'm just bringing that back and forward on itself, filling up those spaces. So there's no right or wrong way to fill these spaces, just creating patterns with those ruffles. Now for the top, it's entirely up to you how you want to finish off the cake. Depending on the type of cake that you're making, you might be making a tiered cake, so you might want to go just as far as the edge. You might want to continue onto the edge against the side of your next cake, or if you've got a single tiered cake like this one, you could bring that pattern all the way onto the top of your cake. I'm just going to finish mine off with one more row of my ruffles just along that top edge. So here we have the finished ruffle cake with these pretty rosettes going all the way around the side of the cake. Now this would be perfect for a birthday cake, or if you want to add it onto a wedding cake, and you can make them in any colour to match your theme. I really hope you've enjoyed this week's video tutorial and will find it useful to add onto some of your own cakes. If you have enjoyed the video, as always, don't forget to give it a like, and if you'd like to see more videos like this, then don't forget you can head over to the video section of the Cakes by Nez YouTube channel to see all the video tutorials that I have. You can also subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any new videos. So until next time, bye!